Dr. Amanda with Straightsmile Solutions, straightsmilesolutions.com, and this video is some more tricks and tips about optimizing your Invisalign. I actually forgot I had made this piece of content, and I stuck all the information about this in my last video, which ended up going 24 minutes long. So it might be the video after this in my YouTube, so depending on how it uploaded, but the title was how to crush your iTero. It should be, the keyword should be crush if you don't see it. It's a really, really long video. So listen to the second half of that. We'll listen to the whole video, but the information about the dental insurance was in the last third to half or so. But basically, in a nutshell, the main key points were: make sure you're coding the right insurance code, make sure you've got coverage, don't be using limited. Oh, please don't use unlimited. Please don't use limited ever anyways, but you're not going to get that much insurance reimbursement if you do. And usually, unless you are picked your limited case very, very wisely and had a very compliant patient, all the dots need to be connected, you usually end up losing money on that because you guys just are picking cases that shouldn't be limited cases to be limited cases. So limited should be like really limited. Run it by an orthodontist before you do an D80-20 or something like that, or D80-30 or D80-10. But anyways, for comprehensive, you should be fine. Make sure you pick the right one. D80-70 for people who are in mixed dentition, D80-80 for permanent dentition, but for a teen, D80-90 for an adult. Pick the right one. You can code out your D86-70s for your periodic. I don't think you should get any money for your periodics, but that's what you'll be charging. Remember, virtual visits are also periodic exams. They do not have to be in office. Usually you can double check with that, but it should be occasionally. You can't do telehealth, but a virtual visit should be fine, especially if it's synchronous. But yeah, find the rules to see what you can do. Retention, your D86-80, probably won't get any money for that, but you need to code it out to close the case. Sometimes once you code retention, you do not continue to get the drips and drops if the insurance hasn't paid fully. And again, I did give a disclaimer on the last video that I am not an insurance whiz, and we've always outsourced and or been out of network. So it really isn't something I know as much about as a lot of you do. So I strongly recommend consulting with Bonsi Popat. I put her contact information on my website, straightsmilesolutions.com. I think she does a complimentary phone call with everyone I refer. I don't get any kickbacks. She's just a friend of mine. I've known her for almost 10 years. She is a Harvard MBA grad. She's way overqualified to be doing this, but her husband is an orthodontist, a good friend of mine, Rishi Popat. Incredible. We've done courses together. Just the nicest, smartest, just brilliant orthodontist. Just so much smarter than me. And such a nice person. If you are ever in the Arizona area, he even does like hands-on training in his office. He is so cool. So you should check him out. Another tip is to code out your diagnostic casts, your D0470. Sometimes you can get about $100, $120 for that. Just remember, it might pull from your general funds instead of the ortho. Usually does, which might decrease the amount of money you have for restorative, so be careful. But your iTero scan is a diagnostics cast, so that might bring you a little bit more revenue. So that's pretty much my tips. And remember, because insurance is usually going to pay over a period of time, if it turns out, if they lose their job, you're not going to get the rest of that money. You might only get part of it. You need to make sure that they're aware that they need to cover that. Now, that can get confusing. So you have to kind of express it like politely, and before you even start saying, look, I just want to explain, it's different than general dentistry procedures like a crown or a filling. It is going to give us drips and drops over a period of time, could be 12 months, could be longer. And if for whatever reason you lose your insurance due to a change of job or whatever, or whatever reason, we're not going to get all that coverage from insurance, which means you're going to be responsible for that additional funds. So they need to be aware of that, because too many times I've had parents or patients that they're in a hustle to get started because they're losing their insurance. And I'm like, wait a minute, then we're probably going to get none of it, or maybe a little bit. So that's really no benefit. It could be a tiny bit benefit, might be none. So you want to make sure that you're getting enough down payment. And then another tip is don't try to cover your full lab fee before you start the case process. That is so rude. A lot of people do that. I mean, there's a lot of DSOs that do that, but it is just morally wrong. It is morally wrong. Listen, make sure that you're picking the right people if you're going to do in-house financing. If you don't know this person and they're not an established person with your practice, well, don't do in-house financing, okay? In that case, there's Compassionate, there's Cherry, of course, there's ClearCorrect. There's other stuff out there. There's a lot of different ways that you can fund this if they don't have insurance, or if they only have minimal insurance, or if they have no down payment. A lot of times when you go in just to start having that conversation, you start off with the full price. The average, just want to let you know, Invisalign, in our state and town, the average fee is this, by our research, $6,000, $6,500, $5,500, $7,000. It's going to be obviously more in a San Francisco or a New York than it is going to be in a remote town in Arkansas. That's just how it is, right? I think we charge $55 at our office. Hawaii just happens to be one of those places that's incredibly expensive to work at, high overhead, but very low insurance reimbursement, very low premiums on everything healthcare related except for cosmetics. I don't know, Botox is crazy expensive. But, some reason ortho's cheap. Part of the reason why I was like, I don't want to go back into full-time practice because you don't make any money here and the overhead's high. So I'd rather just have the flexibility to do what I do. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And plus it's crazy oversaturated with ortho providers. But anyways, be familiar with what the average cost is for an ortho and for the GP. You need to do your secret shopping and know your price point. You also need to know, and I talked about this more in the other video, what are other people including? Are they including a set of retainers? Are they including no retainers? Are they including Vivera 4 sets? What are they including? What's included? Lost aligners. What is included in this whole process? You need to compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges. And the patients need to know the ROI of what everything is included. Do they have an aftercare program? Do they have an insurance program? You need to explain that. You don't need to go over the top with it, but you need to make sure when they're making an educated decision to pick your office versus another office that they know what the ROI is in your office. You do not have to be the cheapest, but you need to be cheaper than the orthodontists and cheaper than most of the dentists. If you do that, you will get starts. You will get starts, especially if you do everything right that I've already explained in the previous video. So those are my tips for you. Consult with Bonsi if you have any other questions. All right, thanks so much.